Welcome to the Excellence at Work podcast, where we explore the strategies and best practices that drive business success. I'm Rachel Cook, COO of Brandon Hall Group and the host of our podcast, along with members of our executive team. In each episode, we'll dive into the latest trends, insights, and real-world examples from some of the most exciting leaders from organizations worldwide. Be part of our journey and learn from the best as we discuss innovative approaches and cutting-edge technologies for talent management, learning and development, leadership, diversity and inclusion, and more. Hi, this is Rachel Cook, the COO of Brandon Hall Group. Welcome to our HCM Excellence podcast. I am excited. Joining me today in our chat is Rachel Bolton, another Rachel. She is the Leadership Development Program Manager from WESCO International. Hi, Rachel. How are you?
I am wonderful. Hi, Rachel.
It is nice and lovely to have you here today. I'm looking outside my window in Florida, which is sunny, thankfully, after weeks and actually summer of lots of rain and some horrific storms, but we're doing well. And you are sitting in your lovely office in Atlanta, Georgia, right? And
Yes,
also showing some nicer weather. You were telling me earlier.
Yes, thank goodness it's starting to cool down, Rachel. We woke up this morning in the low 40s, which means we had to scramble to find jackets and warm enough clothes for my little ones. But yes, sitting here in beautiful Atlanta, Georgia, the high today is supposed to be 68. I don't think it gets any better than that, technically.
Enjoy it while you have it.
Exactly.
And again, it's great. We are in two different states, but it almost feels like we're in person with the advantage of technology today. So, well, I also wanted to congratulate you for winning a Brandon Hall Group Excellence Award for Best Leadership Development Program, titled Leadership Essentials, WESCO's Leadership Program. Again, receiving a gold. So that's remarkable and outstanding. And I'm looking forward to just kind of learning a little bit more about your involvement with the program, the successes that you had, and also, bringing your experience and insights to our community around your program. I'm really excited to chat with you. And if you would share a little bit more about your background and your role at WESCO.
Yeah, happy to, Rachel. And it does feel like we're in the same room. We've got the same name. So we're on the same page. And you said it was exciting to talk with me about it, but you need to know how excited our team was to even submit for this award. So a little background on me. I joined WESCO after spending many years at Home Depot, big box. They are headquartered here in Atlanta, Georgia. And when I was with Home Depot, Brandon Hall was a coveted award to try to get, and our leadership team there would apply for it and go out for it. And so when I came to WESCO, that was something that I knew I was going to implement. Like, we've got to apply for one of these awards once we get out of our pilot phase and we have enough concrete data and metrics to really submit for it. So we were excited not only to apply, but then to find out that we won back in August. The team was all on the call at the same time. And WESCO starts with W, so it's at the very end. And so we were holding our breath, just waiting, Rachel. And then finally we saw it and we could have just fainted. So we are equally as thrilled to be talking with you about it today as you are to be talking to me about it, because it was a pretty huge moment for our team. And so my role at WESCO, I serve as our Leading Others Program Manager, which means that entire program is led by me, facilitated by me and my colleague, Linda. And then we have a Leading Managers program that is for our director level and senior director level, and that's led by our team leader, Lucy Duncan. So between those two programs, that's what's created Leadership Essentials, which is essentially the umbrella of our soon to be 4 program offerings. We have 2 in flight right now, and we are hoping to get 2 more launched in 2025. So, outside of being the program manager, my title is talent management. We do a lot of things across the organization in terms of working with our business resource group partners, working with our human resource business partners to ensure that we're bringing the right content and engagement to our leadership. So that's a little bit about me, and I've been there for 2 years, and it's been great.
And what led you to developing this leadership program? And before you start there, maybe also share a little bit about WESCO and the type of company it is, the culture, anything interesting you want to share.
Yeah, and I know that WESCO isn't familiar to many people, and it's because it's a very interesting, nuanced organization. It has been in business for 100 years plus. WESCO is basically a conglomerate, if you will, of a lot of mergers and acquisitions that brought it to being this huge global juggernaut. Their headquarters is in Pittsburgh, PA. They also have offices in Glenview, Illinois. And what we essentially do as an organization is we're a supply chain, electrical, and distribution services organization. We have our hand in utility and in broadband, but also in security. And we are global. We're not only in the North America continent, but we also are in Europe, the Middle East, Latin America, and Asia Pacific. So we have been able to scale our program just recently. We'll talk with you about that. But WESCO is a publicly traded company, Fortune 500, and it is exciting to bring this kind of leadership development to their leaders.
That is exciting. And with any program, just alone, the effort it takes to develop a great program, but then when you have to also deploy it at scale, that adds
Mm,
another level of complexity. So tell me
it-
about let's talk about the program first and then how you scaled it.
Okay, deal. Yes. So you asked where it came from. When Lucy and I joined, we joined about 2 months apart. She was here first and then brought me on board from Home Depot, our VP, Brian Beverly. It was just the three of us trying to, one, figure out what the business needed, but then trying to build that and fly it at the same time. And so the first step, obviously, was a needs analysis. Lucy sent that to all of our leaders across all of the different business segments, Rachel. We got about a 70% response rate. And that also went all the way up to our C suite. So we had our C suite answer these questions, EVPs, SVPs, all the way down the line. And in that survey, we were trying to determine what are areas that you would like development in, or you would like to see more development in, and what are areas that you know have been missing foundationally. And so that's where we got this split of what they know they needed more development in, which was igniting change and building talent. And that comes from our leader profile, and we'll share and talk about that briefly in a moment. But then what do they need foundational training in? Coaching, recruiting, giving feedback, etc. So when we got all of that aggregated, that was when we could start building the program and designing it and getting it at least to a pilot state. And we're not going to pretend, Rachel, it was very, very complicated. And we learned a lot of lessons by making mistakes early on up front. I mean, down to how we were going to make the cohorts. There were groups of 30. How are we going to diversify them? Were we going to pull people from IT and finance and sales and marketing? And how are we going to get their buy-in? What if they say their plate is too full or they've never heard of our program, so they don't want to participate? So we had a host of obstacles to jump over at the beginning, but to be 2 years in now, that reflecting on it is we can smile about it now, if you can imagine. But at the beginning, it was really just born out of there was literally no training for WESCO leaders. A lot of our leaders were stellar individual contributors who performed well, drove results, and then they were promoted to manager roles where they have direct reports. But
Mhm.
even though they were promoted, they were never given any training. So they went from being a subject matter expert to now, a subject matter expert who's leading 4 or 5 people. And that is daunting on someone who's got an average tenure at WESCO of 10 years plus. They're just going to do what they've always done. And so we knew that there was a need based off of the surveys, Rachel, and that's where we found out where we really needed to focus as well.
And you also, going back to the cohorts, you did mix the cohorts. So they
Yeah.
were diverse groups that pulled in from different geographies, different functions in the organization.
Yes.
So I think that also bringing those different experiences where they can share from one another and learn about the different businesses
Yes.
probably helped in the overall experience for what they get out of it, right?
Absolutely. Yes, we host a orientation call for every cohort that's coming on into the 6-month program. And during that 30-minute orientation call, we share with them, you are about to be in a cohort with people who may not even be in your country, who aren't even
Mhm.
in your job function. And that's deliberate. One, we want them to have greater exposure to internal leaders that are like them that they would otherwise not have access to. But two, we've noticed that when we cross pollinate that way, it gives opportunity for internal mobility. All of a
Mhm.
sudden, in 6 months, someone's had access to an individual who's in finance and they may be in sales. And because they've partnered with this individual for 6 months, now they're interested in finance or job shadowing or partnering with
Mhm.
them in a different dynamic way. So you're right. It was very intentional. We wanted to make sure we mixed it up. And to be honest, I've come from organizations where the training is homogenous, right? All sales people went through a sales training program and all operations people went through operations. We wanted to make sure we mixed that up and that it wouldn't be that way for our program.
That's great. And that helps. Well, talent mobility in our research also shows that it helps with engagement and retention.
Yes,
And also it's skills and advancing skills or skills development because
mm,
you're creating greater levels of competencies across
true.
your people and giving them different opportunities where they may leave if they feel they're kind of stuck or they're just wanting a change but they don't feel that there's opportunity perhaps at the current organization that they are at. Oftentimes people will just leave and and
Yeah,
they may be also afraid that if they do seek different positions across different functions that it might threaten their opportunity in their own position because
right.
it looks like they may not be committed or that they may um, you know
Be
for
seeking to
many
go.
factors, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So this
Yeah.
is definitely I one of the factors too that contributed to your program receiving a gold and why our evaluators saw that it had all the different elements that makes a successful leadership program.
Yeah.
Going back to you mentioned that it wasn't easy. You faced challenges. What are some of the challenges that you did face, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Yeah, this is a great question. And before I want to answer this, I talked to my leader, Lucy, and I said, should I tell them all the bad things that happened right at the beginning? And she said, yeah, sure. It's how we learned, right? Initially, it was just Lucy and myself, just two of us trying to build and deliver this inceptive flagship program that had never even been available to leaders before. And with that comes um, the the mistakes. For example, when we had to pull all of those individuals and place them into cohorts of 30, we had 3 pilot cohorts, so 90 individuals. And we pulled each name and department and everything from our human capital management system. We wanted to make sure we had the right geographies, the right titles, the right mix of departments. But then we had to inform all of those individuals. And we decided we were going to do a mail merge, Rachel. And Lucy and I have not done a mail merge ever prior to that. I had come from Home Depot, Lucy came from Walmart. And in those organizations, they're a little more hierarchical. We had a little more robust support in terms of senior analysts that would do some of those things, or tech assistants that would help us with those things. But now it was just her and I, and we had to figure out how to do the mail merge. And Rachel, once we hit send and it went to all the wrong people, and I had to try to resend, recall, is that the term? To try to recall an email from 90 people. So it just, we had embarrassing moments, we had tough moments, but honestly, they were just hiccups. They were tough to us or embarrassing to us, but what remedied it was when we got additional headcount, and that was when Linda West, we call her our Jedi guru master, joined our team as a senior analyst, but also she's so much more than that, and she has great proficiency at administrative task, at doing things in an automated way where she could automate things where we weren't manually doing them at the clip that we were. She just brought so much finesse to our program, the way that our graphics looked on our websites, to how our communications went out in email and to other managers. She was probably the key to unlocking greater efficiency and smoothness to our team. And we have to admit, Lucy's strength is certainly strategy and design and building out our framework. Mine is implementation, getting buy-in, delivery of our programs. And Linda's definitely the glue and the balance between the two of us. She's able to execute and to make us look even better than we ever thought we could. So that's what really, we needed more hands, and we needed to give ourselves grace to fail in front of people, because this was the first program WESCO's ever had. And luckily we had a really excellent, supportive VP, Brian Beverly, who, even when we made mistakes, he's like, it's okay. They don't know the difference. He would just give us sort of that support and freedom to fail fast and move on.
Well, this makes me think of how you formed together as a team.
Yeah.
Is a good example of forging teams based on, well, one, you had an initiative that you had to accomplish,
Right.
or that you were striving to accomplish, and you also, I don't know if this happened organically, or if there was thought into your different skill sets, but this is a really good example of
Yeah.
a team dynamics, and when it's successful versus when a team doesn't work together.
Right.
The opposite of probably what would have happened with your program.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you said, I don't know if this was a happy accident or if it was deliberate. And I
Uh-huh.
will say, I think there was some deliberate strategy to it. Honestly,
Mhm.
Brian had the foresight to see that, well, Rachel, you've done a lot of delivery. I can see on your LinkedIn, I can see from your background at Home Depot, you have engaged, you have done live events, you have done virtual facilitation. I think you'd be excellent working with Lucy. And so initially we just came together, and she was like, hi, what's your skill set? And I'm like, what's yours? You show me mine, I'll show you yours, right? And we did. We meshed well, but there was a piece missing, right? We needed that third individual. And so when we got approval for headcount, we started asking around at WESCO, do you know someone who can help us really gear our program up to be fully launched? We were in pilot stage initially, right? But now we're going to fully launch it and start enrolling individuals at a regular clip. And we luckily got Linda, and ironically, she came from Amazon. So we have former Amazon, former Walmart, former Home Depot. And I think that also added to some of the synergy as well, just coming from similar big box retail background and then using those strengths here at WESCO. Yeah.
You're the three powerhouse.
Yeah. Yes, we're small but mighty. And one of the questions that we get is, how do you do it with just 3 people?
Mhm.
Many leadership development teams, Rachel, I'm sure you know, are much bigger than 3, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. And to scale our program globally, to have gotten 40% or 39.6 7% saturation in terms of how many leaders we've had fully go through the program, get their digital credential, and go back and roll. I think it's amazing that 3 people could do it and we didn't need more. And so I think one thing that sets us apart is how lean we are, but it
Mhm.
does limit us as well. So we have to be very careful about what we say yes to, and if someone's out sick, because there's only 3 of us, but I couldn't ask for any more.
Now, do you have any other volunteers or any other areas of the business that contribute to the cohorts and provide that level of support
Oh,
and
yes.
yeah.
Yes, we do. So earlier I mentioned we have orientation before our cohorts start their program. Well, we also have a virtual graduation as well.
Mhm.
And one of the things that we just started doing about 8 months ago was asking alumni, people who had graduated from the program, even if they were in the pilot, especially, to come back as a student speaker and to talk to the graduating class about what it was like when they were in the program and things that they took away from the program. And then not only do we get them to speak to the graduates, but then we also get to develop that leader, right? They get a chance to publicly speak in front of a group. We get to give them an award, an internal wow recognition award for giving us their time and preparing for that speech. And it's interesting, Rachel, how seriously they take it. They prepare and they submit what they think they would like us to hear, and they ask for tweaks. And it's great to have former student support as
Sure.
well as C-suite leadership, CHRO
Mhm.
support as well. So yes, we definitely tie it back in so that people see, wow, so one day I could come back and be a speaker. So now we get people asking, in 5 months, will you let me come back and talk to the group? And it's great that they're even thinking ahead like that, that they want to support the program even after they've left it. So they never really leave us, Rachel. We're obsessed with them. We want to keep them we want to keep them close. Once we've been with them for 6 months, you feel like you really get to know these groups. So I know that they enjoy having that cross pollination and access to all of these different individuals and orientation, graduation. But for our team, we enjoy that it's gotten to this level because we definitely did not have these things in place during the pilot and that kind of robust support from former participants as well.
That's exciting. And what other tools did you use or did you leverage to help build the program? And are there opportunities beyond connecting virtually, but in person
Ooh, yeah.
opportunities?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll start with the in-person piece because we, not for leading others, but for our leading managers program, which is that director, senior director level, their program is slightly different. For leading others, it's 100% virtual, and that's distinctively because it scales operations and a lot of groups that simply can't travel and be on site for 2 days. But our director level and senior director can. And so part of their program is a 2-day in-person event at our Glenview offices. And it's one of us or 2 of us from the team conducting a 1-day grow coaching workshop and then a 1 day of a lot of activities, team building, different strategic initiatives that we try to bring to the leaders at that level. And let me tell you, Rachel, when they leave that in-person event, our LinkedIn goes crazy, our surveys are high, word of mouth goes out because they just enjoy seeing peers meeting together for the first time. Now, that is based on what we're able to do in terms of how our business is performing, right? We need that approval from our CHRO to grant 60 leaders at that level to be on planes, to rent cars, to travel for 2 days, and then also taking them out of pocket as well. And so we did have to have a brief hiatus for Q2 and Q3, but we are expecting in 2025 to bring that back and start seeing our leaders in person again, because not only do we love it, but they really love it to get out of their seat, to meet with other people. We take them to dinner. We get to give them breaks and we carpool. So there's that in-person dynamic. It can't be compared. But the virtual one, you asked what tools do we have that support that. We have an incredible software as a service or a SaaS website called HowSpace. HowSpace has been a game changer. I think it is literally the differentiator between our program and other virtual programs because HowSpace allows us to customize the workspace with our own logos, our brand colors, but it also allows us to do so much more. It's robust, it's camera ready, microphone ready. You can upload photos, you can have super chats, you can create games, different journeys. And our house space is how we keep our leading others participants active between literal phone calls that we have on Teams. So once monthly, they do get on a call just like this. We ask them to be on camera, all 30 of them. It doesn't matter where they are. And we talk about that specific leadership driver for an hour or an hour and a half. Maybe there'll be breakout groups, which they tend to love. Maybe we'll play a virtual game or we'll have an activity, but we don't want to have just one simple modality of learning. We know that people learn differently, and adult learning theory tells us that you need to have different approaches to your content because you're going to have different learners in a cohort of 30. So we have podcasts, we have websites, we have games, we have chats, we have videos that they can watch, interviews that they listen to, and then they come back and they discuss it in that forum. So it's an online, very robust, very dynamic portal, to the point where when we have to take their access away, they get sad because they've been in it for 6 months. And we're like, you're out of the program. You don't need house space anymore. So they like it as well. It's got a smooth interface. It's beautiful. And we are able to edit it in real time. So right now, for example, we have 30 workspaces active right now, 30 cohorts that are actively using house space. And we're able as admin to go in and see the comments that they make or the pictures that they post, or we have even a map that says, tell us where you're located. You can pin yourself on this global map. So we can see that, oh, they're in India, they're in China, they're in Chile. And so it's just been a game changer. But if we did not have house space, I don't think I'd be sitting here talking to you. I don't think we'd have the NPS scores that we have. I don't think it would come together as cohesively.
And with their different options that they have that they can select from, are these prescribed to them or are these self-selected? Or is there a mix of, how do you identify what each leader needs as far as their development?
Oh, that's great. So determining who goes into which program is based off of their level of leadership. So for leading others, it is specifically for managers who have direct reports, first time managers who have direct reports, or even if they don't have direct reports, they are responsible for a project or an initiative that's very weighty or that has a lot of authority necessary. So most of them have direct reports and they are manager to someone who's just an individual contributor. And we do that by pulling that info from Incorda, which is our in-house software for human resource capital management. For leading managers, we pull the level that is senior director or director only. And when I say we, I mean Linda. She is the one who has these formulas down pat. She knows exactly how to find what level of leadership they're at. And then it's up to them. Our enrollment process is voluntary. We understand that while we may say, this is a great program, you are a manager, come join it, sometimes it's not the right season for individuals. They may have illness or they may be working on a very important project or they're about to go out on paternity or maternity leave. We've heard a host of reasons why enrollment during that period won't work, but can I enroll later? And so we like that we have an intake portal that allows people to self-enroll. Let's say we don't capture that manager as Linda pulls for the next round of cohorts. Well, someone can tell that manager about it. We can send them a link and they can self-enroll. Hey, I know you haven't pulled me yet, but I'm a manager. I have 3 direct reports. I've heard so much about this program. I want in. So we have 2 ways. We can auto enroll, but they can defer to not participate at that time, or self-enroll where they can just share the link and enter in our intake portal and get added to the next cohort.
Okay. Well, that sounds like you have a you have a lot of different options, which is good, from selection to self-selection
Right.
and opportunity-based, and understanding that there's a lot of different circumstances that might impact their engagement or involvement. What other innovative approaches have you taken um, to ensure or to secure, a greater impact of its
Of
to
the
your learning?
program of itself. Yeah. Um, Innovative. I always think of our Credly badges, because I don't see a lot of, at least in my LinkedIn ecosystem, I don't see a lot of leadership development badges. And that was something that I thought was distinctive to us. Yes, Lean Six Sigma has badging. There are a lot of organizations that have internal credentialing, but not typically for talent programs or for leadership development programs. So we partnered with Credly to design our badge, to get that contract to have enough badges to award to our participants. And so that pricing was interesting when we have 5,200 leaders potentially, and hopefully they all get it, is what you hope, but we know that that doesn't happen. And so we're always constantly counting, how many licenses do we have left, how many badges do we have left, because we want to make sure we are able to give them to our participants. It's sort of that carrot that we dangle during orientation. One, we want them to see that there are peers within WESCO who have already gotten this badge. This is something that you can use for your performance management season. You can say to your leader, hey, 6 months I committed to this program, I did everything necessary, and I received this digital certification. We also incentivize it by saying that it's something that stays with you. Even if you, for whatever reason, go separate ways from WESCO, this is a resume builder. This is a brand builder. You will be seen as someone who is certified in leading others. And I just think that is a sell that has made it even more of a desire for folks in our organization. They come into orientation, they're like, I'm excited about the badge. My friend has a badge and I want a badge. So I love that they're competitive and they want to feel included and they want to showcase that badge as well. So we used our brand colors, again, another innovative partner that allows us to customize to our brand guidelines. My leader, Lucy, her program leading managers has separate badges than leading others. And then when we hopefully finally launch Leading the Future, which is our high potential program that we're trying to launch next year, and then leading the business, I believe, and that's for our C-suite. So our C-suite level is even going to have their own leadership training program support. And I just love that we can build these badges and share them with the world and let people see, wow, WESCO invests in their people to the degree that they get out of a program, they get a badge, not just a diploma they stick on their cubicle. It stays with them. So I think that in terms of innovation, I would say that's definitely the biggest between house space and the badges, because let's face it, we're still delivering through Teams virtually in my program. We have some engaging approaches in terms of engagement in Teams, but I doubt that there are things that other facilitators who virtually present aren't doing. So I think those two companies really helped us stand out. House Space and Credly. I can't recommend them both enough. They were great, excellent partners.
Fantastic. And it sounds like you're already thinking ahead about the programs that you're looking at for future leaders and other opportunities for executives and other certifications. Is there anything else as we look into next year? Any other plans for content updates or new
Mm.
features? Other priorities? It's an interesting question that we ask in our HCM study outlook as we look ahead for the year. What are learning or HCM professionals focused on, and what are those priorities? So if you had to sum it up, what are some of the key priorities do you anticipate your team focused on?
Yeah, absolutely. We just had a team meeting about this. So I'm glad you asked today because it's fresh on the mind.
Okay.
We rely heavily on surveys. After every live session that we conduct, we have a survey. After our on-site meetings, we conduct a survey. And we really believe that the customer is right. So if they say, we'd like to do more of this or less of that, that's something that we want to incorporate, even if we can't do it immediately. And one of the things that we've gotten is they want more networking time, Rachel, with the cohort. They
Mhm.
are able to talk amongst themselves in house space and during our calls, but they want separate networking sessions. They would like fireside chats from our leaders across the organization where they speak to them about specific leadership drivers. What does building talent mean to you? And asking that to maybe our CFO or our CIO. They want more in-person opportunities. We cannot hide from that. We know that they love that and they get so much from it. And we're hoping if we can get additional headcount where there could be 4 of us, we can start to do some of these things. But even if we don't, Lucy and our VP Brian, they know that now that we've gotten about 40% through our program, that maybe we can pull back and we don't have to be as aggressive next year in terms of how many people we're enrolling. And then if we can lighten up our cadence of sessions and our cadence of cohorts rolling out, we can start to do some of those things. We'd like to have a newsletter that goes out to all of our participants, for example, that they can contribute to, or that is specific to their business unit. We want to do lunch and learns. We have on-demand webinars that we'd like to do more of and offer other things that we are seeing in our surveys. So I think it's just a matter of finding the time, scaling back how many sessions we're doing and how many cohorts that we're launching to give us the bandwidth to do some of these things that our participants are just hungry for. And we just talked about it yesterday. So it's top of mind how exciting it would be to be able to pivot and do some of those things that they would like more of.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up, what advice do you have for other organizations
Yeah.
for them?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say one, have a great stakeholder at the top level. If you can, get the buy-in from leadership. Our CHRO, Chris Wolf, has been incredibly supportive of our program, even from the beginning. And she is also someone who is part of our graduation and she gives the commencement address. So even our participants seeing C-suite level at the end of their program, I think goes a long way. I also would say, the customer is always right. If you're not using survey or any sort of feedback tool to hear what people really think about your program, you might have a blind spot. We ask very deliberate questions. What would you like to see different during this session? What did you enjoy the most and why? So that we can really get that qualitative data that tells us, okay, we're keeping this, we're shifting that. In terms of advice, I would also say to be patient with yourself. As a group of 2 initially, and then just moving to 3 people, we wanted to do so much, but we had to be realistic about how many hands we had and the budget that we had to work with. So I would be mindful about being graceful to yourself. As leaders, we want it to be perfect. We want it to be exactly the way we've envisioned. And sometimes that's just not reality. And other than that, communicate your results. I think one thing that our team has been vocal about is sharing it with the greater company. We tag WESCO in our LinkedIn posts. We make sure that we're sharing that feedback that our participants are getting. So even on my social media or Lucy's or former participants, you see hashtag WESCO graduate, you see hashtag leading others. And that way word of mouth spreads through the organization. It just makes our job easier because people want to enroll instead of us trying to force them to. So that would be my advice. Yeah, have an executive sponsor. Make sure that you're listening to your end user. The customer's always right. And promote what you're doing. People will not know unless you share.
Absolutely. Rachel, thank you so much. You've shared a wealth of information about your experience and your passion. You're so excited about all the great initiatives that you've been part of. So it's been a privilege and just a wonderful opportunity for me to spend time with you today and to share your story with others. And also, I'm really excited about the possibility of you speaking at our HCM Excellence Conference in January of 2025 in Palm Beach at the Hilton. So we're looking forward to having you there. So, and those of you that are listening in or watching us, if you want to learn more about some of the more in depth about her program and overall, future initiatives that they have underway, come check us out next year as we look forward to seeing all of you. And again, Rachel, it's a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Rachel. I hope it's not the last time, and I hope to see any of the listeners down in Florida.
Absolutely. Can't wait. Thank you again, Rachel. You're wonderful.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Have a great day.